Assalamu alaikum. We had just finished a video about the pandemic and how to defend ourselves and flourish in these tough times. And I had said that I will be talking about the aspect of religion and social distancing. The congregational prayers, the Salatul Jamaat, the Salatul Juma, and the other prayers that we do in congregation. And there are few people who are still trying to say that we should continue doing that, saying that this is just going to be destiny. If we are supposed to die, we will die. If it's written that we will survive, we will survive. This is not about ourselves. We can carry this virus and then other people can get killed and we will be murdering them. We will become accessory to murderers, if not directly murderers, because we knew what we were doing. So I think such people should be punished actually. There is a general principle in Sharia. The general principle will supersede about everything else. So people are talking about specific examples and not on the general principle. A specific example, they are saying that the ta'un of a mouse or the plague, which was part of the Justinian plague actually. Justinian plague which started sometime around 540 or so, the time of Justinian, before the Prophet ﷺ was born, just a few decades before he was born. And it went on till mid-800s or so, but it would come out in spurts after the first wave. So in that, this discussion about epidemics happened. We should realize that the knowledge that the Muslims had was rudimentary. They did not even know that bacteria exists, that there is something called viruses. They thought that it spreads by bad air or other things. And they did their best. The knowledge that they had, they did their best. And Prophet ﷺ, that's why he said that people from a town which is suffering from an epidemic should stay there and should not go to other place so that they don't spread it. And the thing that people from outside should not go in because they should not infect themselves. So this is what does it say? It says that prevention of lives is very important. Then in the same discussion, let me bring about the discussion between Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Abu Ubaidah, where Hazrat Umar leaves Medina with a huge contingent of Ansar and the Muhajirin, and then when he's about to enter the town where the Muslim army is camped and people are dying and Abu Ubaidah is leading, he comes out to meet him and finds out what's happening. And then Hazrat Umar holds a shura and people say, no, you should not go there, you should go back, because if you die or if you take it back to Medina, lots of other people are going to die and it's going to create a huge problem in the whole Islamic state. Islamic Khilafah can get destroyed because you are fighting with two superpowers at that time. So Umar bin Khattab starts to go back with his contingent. He says, we will go back tomorrow. And Abu Ubaidah gets very upset and he said that you are running away from the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the decision. Umar answers him saying that I am escaping towards the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everybody is talking about this, but then there's something else happens. Umar tells Abu Ubaidah, okay, if you are not coming to Medina, because he invites him to come to Medina and he refuses later through a letter. And that's also a very, very interesting conversation that we should study. Then Umar cries and then he says to him, writes to him that, okay, at least move the army, because where you are right now is it in the Nashib, it's in the lower elevation, and it's a wet area, so move it to a dry area, higher elevation. So why did they do that? So where is this complete thing about qadar, so don't do anything? So whatever they knew, they did it. So let me talk about a general principle. The general principle was, it happened in the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ when in Medina, he did not know much about farming. So he asked the people of Medina as to why do they cross-pollinate? And the people of Medina, the Ansar, thought that maybe it's a bad thing and we should not cross-pollinate. So they do not cross-pollinate. And what happened, that whole date fasl, the date crop, was a disaster. So they come to him, the Prophet ﷺ, peace and Allah's blessing be upon him, and they say, what happened? This is what has happened. He says, listen, I am a man like you, so in worldly affairs, you know, you do not have to follow uh, my opinion completely. In the deen, you have to, but in the worldly opinion, I'm paraphrasing it. And so that is the principle. And you see that principle happening when the um, pagans of Makkah gets all the surrounding tribes to help them, and a huge army comes to annihilate the Muslims in the battle of the trench. So about the trench, what happened about the trench? How did the trench come into being? The Prophet ﷺ asked his Sahaba, his companions, what to do now. And Salman al-Farsi says, he is from Persia, and he knew about the art of defending towns. And Makkah and Medina, people were living in deserts, open areas, and you know, at the time they may have a small fortress, etc. But how to defend the whole town? So he says that we have a tradition of digging a trench. So Medina was ideal because on two sides are the lava fields, and the back of Medina was the bus of the town where Banu Qurayza, the Jewish tribe, it was supposed to be an ally at that time. So the only place where it was open to attack, they build a trench. They dig a trench in a very record time. But so that is the principle. The principle is that for worldly affairs, listen to the experts. And the Prophet ﷺ did not know about the viruses, did not know about the bacteria, the Sahaba did not know. And the world came to know about it later because of the scientific method, etc., which was promoted by the Muslims. You know, if the Muslims had not contributed to medicine, all the modern medicine is built on what the Muslims did, the Persians and mostly the Arabs and the other Muslims did. You know, Ibn Sina and then Ibn Nafis and all others, they were not only great physicians, but some of them were great eye surgeons and others. So the modern medicine is based on them, the scientific method. So instead of, you know, doing this bad thing of increasing, worsening the pandemic and contributing to killing millions of people, I mean, there is a study which says that if America does not do social distancing, does not close all these non-life-saving things like, you know, that you do not really need, because you can pray at home, but you have to have hospitals open, you have to have grocery stores open, you have to have drug stores open. So if they don't do social distancing, then more than 2 million Americans will die. There's a news story today that one of the Indian experts said that by May 2 million Indians may die. You know, and India is not even doing social distancing. It was the example of the 1918 pandemic, the H1N1 influenza pandemic, which killed 50 million people, 18 to 25 million in India alone. The town of, the city of St. Louis shut itself. Very few people died there. Philadelphia held a big parade for the army, World War I army, and thousands die, and the city's hospital gets overwhelmed. And when somebody gets infected, you know, their family will be quarantined, they will be in the hospitals, and if they die, they will not be allowed to be washed and buried Islamically. So all these problems, do you want to contribute to these problems? So this nonsense about going to the masjid and praying and qadr are done by people who have not understood Islam in its entirety. Listen to those, you know, Yasser Qadi says a great thing. He says, listen to the experts. The experts here are the doctors. The experts here are the microbiologists. The experts here are the epidemiologists. Listen to them. That's what Islam teaches you. Islam is a mercy. Do not make it, you know, a source of azab for your neighbors. I mean, focus on studying, when you are sitting home, focus on studying Sirah and Quran and the history. Learn all these things. Spend time with your children. Discuss, you know, the challenges that they face. Talk about the Uyghur Muslims of China, the Burmese Muslims, the Indian Muslims who are marked for annihilation, the Syrians who are suffering greatly. Talk about this. You know, come up with campaigns. Do something positive. Save lives. Do not contribute to, you know, killing people. So that's what I have to say. Thank you so much for listening to me.